Lee says, the town I know from the 90s is gone. I don't recognize the people. Since the end of the COVID, my hometown has been swamped with Africans and Middle Easterners. My family sees me as racist, as an extremist. If it wasn't for my brothers in the Orthodox Church in Durham, I would be lost and utterly demoralized. I'm stared at in my streets. To make things worse, the locals are starting to adopt London gang culture, like chavs but with no local culture or music. I recently confronted a thief after I was told by the shop workers they couldn't do anything. I was called a grass and everyone around me looked at me like I was the weird one. Jesus, there's no unity, no community, no respect, no order, no England, at least in Sunderland. I am so angry. All I want is my home back. God help us. God save England. This is what they mean when they say diversity is our strength. The only question is who's the our, right? The our is the managerial, technocratic, global bureaucracy. If they have no unity, no community, no respect, and no order, well, then they've got everything they need. Right? There's nothing to resist them.
Still, though, my great consideration that makes me think that these people are actually retarded in some way is that they seem to have forgotten that unless they really can speed the development of AI up enough to be able to really take over all of the menial day-to-day things and get systems to actually run themselves, if this carries on, the ruling class's quality of life is going to crash as well, because the economy will collapse, all of the infrastructure will collapse, all of the even simple things like transporting food from one place to another will not be viable anymore. So they're doing this at the expense of their own well-being in the future. This is the most stupid short-term thinking, purely for the sake of what? Inflating housing bubbles. And of course, destroying Western civilization.
And virtue signalling, yeah.
Mm.
Yeah.
You are right. The quality of the elites is noticeably declining, right? And this is something if they had a level of intelligence that was necessary to run this thing, they would have recognized themselves that they should at least have some way of carving out, separate to the retarded population they're trying to develop, to prevent them from becoming their own replacement, but they just don't have it.
People saying that they'll run to another country. Where?
Yeah.
This is going to happen everywhere will turn into South Africa. Yeah. And eventually there will be no Western civilization to run to, unless, as I think, they're banking that AI will magically improve everything to the point where they don't need us anymore.
It is also worth mentioning as well that the reason the politicians are of such low quality is that the people of quality haven't gone into politics as they used to. I think that's fundamentally it.
Well, they're encouraged not to.
Mm.
So I'm loving just these reports back from people. These again, just tell us about your little village, where you grew up. Tell us about where you live. Quinn says, I live in a village smack bang in the middle of Barnsley, Doncaster and Sheffield. The town city centres are filled with diversity that didn't exist when I was a child. The English run Doncaster and Barnsley markets are pretty much gone now. The chain hotels that are filled with menapts, the high street,
Middle East, North African, Pakistani, and Turkish.
Oh, right, okay. That's a new one to me. Okay.
Muslims.
Right.
That's just...
Let's be straightforward about it.
Yeah, there's the Islamic, the Ummah. The high street I have to walk down between the train station and the bus station on my way to work is covered with foreign-run Turkish barbers with no customers. At least 5 of them. Just shocking. You know, what the Turks and their haircuts. What's going on?
And they're actually Syrian or Kurdistan or Iraqi or Afghani. They all just say they're Turkish.
You know, Callum went into one a while ago. He was having a chat with one of them, and because he's interested in that sort of thing. And after a while, it dawned on him that this guy was probably in ISIS. The guy cutting his hair, and that he'd fled after the collapse of the caliphate. And it was like, right, that's scary.
Well, at least I've had my hair cut by Kurds and people from that neck of the woods in Swindon. It's a bit worrying when they have a razor to your throat. It's like, am I going to come out of this with a head on?
I've never stepped into a single one of them.
There's nowhere else to get your goddamn haircut here.
That's why I don't get my haircut here.
It's insufferable. There's a Chinese-run nail salon across the road from a traditional English butcher's that now looks so out of place in comparison. A Pakistani couple runs an off-license. The towns I grew up in here are completely alien to me. No, and it's a shame. My village isn't unaffected either, as there is now a rampant street crime and gang violence in what was once a quaint little area. God, that's just atrocious, isn't it?
Thanks, Blair. Really rubbing our noses in it, Blair.
Thanks, Cameron. Thanks, Boris. Thanks, Pretty. Like, just so annoying.
Try to support that English butcher's if you can.
Yeah. I would say boycott any business you can that is obviously run by immigrants.
Yeah.
Just don't shop there. Just don't spend your money there.
Yeah. No. This is why when we were at the little English market thing, I was like, okay, I'm going to buy some stuff, even though I don't want any of this. It's just, things that, tat and things like that people have made themselves. But I was like, okay, I'm going to buy something just to contribute, And I honestly bought these little things. I can't remember what they were. They were just nonsense. But I bought them as a duty. I probably spent about 100 quid. Carrie says, Isle of Man here. We're still holding on to our culture by the fingertips, but the demographic is starting to change in the last 18 months. See, again, how quickly this happens. It worries me that my home and safety is at risk. Even though I never thought about going for a run and walking home in the dark by myself, it's now making me start to think twice. Of course you didn't. Why would you? Knives are being brought into school, which was unheard of 10 years ago. I am really considering homeschooling when we have a family. I know, it's mad. Like in Swindon, there have been stabbings in schools recently. My wife's panicking, and I'm like, well, there's a reason we send our kids to private school. Well, I pay all the money in the world. It costs a fortune. I don't have a nice car or anything. I don't have a giant house. But my kids, I think, at least won't get stabbed at school.
I really need to pee.
God, everyone with their tiny
desperate.
bladders. White Rider says...
Are we finishing very shortly?
Yeah, we should, but I really enjoy going through these. You can jump off if you want.
It's very interesting seeing what the situation and the mood is. Because everything that I'm seeing here is, again, pointing to pot boiling over.
100%.
Whether or not it happens this weekend, it's going to happen. You can't have this situation sustaining itself for decades. You can't have... I mean, it's been, it's been 25, 26, 27 years since Blair came in. Yeah, 27 years since Blair came in and really started to open the border, and it's only ramped up since then. It's been about, 4 or 5 years since Boris came in and changed the visa rules so that we're getting all of the third worlders coming into the country. That's how quickly it takes.
I think the metaphor, the allegory of a pressure cooker, and the more you batten it down, the more the pressure builds up, and the more force you keep the lid on with. Well,
and whether or not people in some of these more secluded neighborhoods are seeing it right now, it will come to them. There will be a stabbing in your neighborhood. There will be a stabbing in your school, and then you can't ignore it. And then what are people going to do?
White Rider says, I actually grew up in a little village just outside of my town, technically still part of the town, blah, blah. The Kingholm Quay, just outside Dumfries. My primary school at the top of the hill had a whopping 22 students when I was there. In between the village and the local school at the top of the hill, student accommodation started getting built around the time I moved into the town, as well as another larger housing scheme built next to our village. That housing scheme must have been made exclusively for Indian migrants, as there was not one single local in them. They genuinely colonized our area.
It's
mad.
It's the most vile, traitorous betrayal that has happened within my lifetime. Happened within, I think, everybody here.
There's no precedent.
No.
People talk about the Huguenots, tiny numbers.
We took 100,000 Frenchmen in like 1610.
I don't think it was even close to that.
I know.
I think it was like 30 or 40,000, something like that.
We took 30,000 Protestants.
I mean, from what
they're hardline Protestant.
I know.
As far as I'm aware, it was 300,000 over the course of 10 or 20 years.
The Huguenots.
That might have been it. I might be.
I don't think it. Anyway.
I think it was actually a substantial number, but still the largest number in 1,000 years up to that point.
But even something like the Norman invasion or the Roman invasion, the numbers are tiny compared to what's happened to us in the last 30 years.
To watch the full video, please become a premium member at lotuseaters.com.